All right, guys, let's talk about investing in the solar industry in general, solar energy. This is a space that has become extremely popular and one that I have not made any particular investments in. And there's a lot of specific reasons why. Understanding just the general trend of what's been happening, there's been all sorts of incentives that governments around the world have been giving to specific companies to start getting into solar energy and to really accelerate the pace of solar energy. So because of all of these like subsidies and overall incentives that these companies have been getting, there's been a lot of startups that have really come in and decided that they were going to produce solar panels. You know, and what that's done is it's made it so that the price of solar panels have gone down dramatically because there's so many competitors, right? And the majority of the solar panels in general are being created in China, just so you understand. But yeah, there's a lot of companies that are producing these solar panels. So what that's doing is it's making it so that everybody's competing based on price, and we are seeing that the technology is getting better. That's for sure. It's becoming more efficient.
One good thing to come out of 2016, solar energy is finally cheaper than fossil fuels. The World Economic Forum estimates that in over 30 countries across the globe, solar and wind are now the same price or cheaper than fossil fuels, and more countries are expected to join those ranks. Solar energy has come a long way. About a decade ago, the average cost of generating a megawatt hour of solar energy was $600. Now it hovers around $100, the same average price of coal. Plus, wind and solar are attracting more and more investors. Renewable energy trumped fossil fuel investments globally for the first time in 2015.
There are plenty of ways to capture solar power, but the cheapest, most common tool by far is the crystalline silicon solar panel. Researchers in Japan have created the most efficient version yet. It can convert more than 26% of sunlight to usable electricity. The behavior of photons puts a hard cap on the amount of power we can squeeze out of them. We can get around this limit by stacking more semiconductors in the cells, or using concentrators that focus more sunlight in less space, which gets us closer to 86% efficiency. But these high-tech options are nowhere near as common or as cheap as basic silicon panels, especially in developing markets. Costs have plummeted, and investment has rocketed. Under the right conditions, solar power from silicon panels is now cheaper than fossil fuels. So there's not much incentive to replace all of that progress. It's almost always more efficient to keep doing what you're doing than to change a whole industry over to a new technology at once. But energy firms are optimistic that technology is going to keep improving. Silicon cells have gotten drastically cheaper in the last decades. They think concentrators eventually will too.
You know, they're finding new ways of actually capturing and storing the energy in ways that they couldn't before, which was one of the major challenges with solar, was that you know, when you had sunlight, direct sunlight, you could basically, you know, you could power your entire house, you could do all sorts of other things. But what happens whenever you don't have direct sunlight? You would have to use some sort of alternative power source. And now what's been happening is they've been creating solar energy, you know, converters. So essentially, whenever your solar panel is sitting out all day, it's capturing energy, then it's storing it for later.
Now, the obvious problem with solar power is that the sun does not shine at night. So I think most people are aware of this. So this problem needs to be solved. We need to store the energy that is generated during the day so that you can use it at night. And also even during the day, the energy generation varies. There's a lot more energy generated in the middle of the day than at dawn or dusk. So it's very important to smooth out that energy generation and retain enough so that you can use it at night. So this is a product we call the Tesla Powerwall. And if you look back against that wall, you'll see a whole bunch of them as well in different colors. So you can pick your favorite color, and it looks like a beautiful sculpture on the wall. If you're thinking about sort of buying a battery, what does this provide you? Well, it gives you peace of mind. So if there's a cut in the utilities, you're always going to have power, particularly if you're in a place that's very cold. Now you don't have to worry about being out of power if there's an ice storm. You can actually go, if you want, completely off-grid. You can take your solar panels, charge the battery packs, and that's all you use. So it gives you safety, security, and it gives you a complete and affordable solution. And the cost of this is $3,500. And it's designed so you can stack them on the wall. So if you look at the wall in the back, you'll see that there are some that are paired up. So you can have two. You can actually stack up to 9 of the Powerwalls. So you have, I mean, even if you've got a pretty big thing going on, you can have 90 kilowatt hours. That's a lot. And very importantly, this is going to be a great solution for people in remote parts of the world where there's no electricity wires, or where the electricity is extremely intermittent or extremely expensive. So you can take the Tesla Powerwall and it can scale globally. And in fact, I think what we'll see is something similar to what happened with the cell phones versus landlines, where the cell phones actually leapfrogged the landlines, and there wasn't a need to put landlines in a lot of countries or in remote locations. So people in a remote village or an island somewhere can take solar panels, combine it with the Tesla Powerwall, and never have to worry about having electricity lines. And I think this is going to be great. Having electricity lines is not the most pretty thing in the world. So being able to just have this solution that just works wherever you are, I think is going to be incredibly helpful to people that don't have electricity today. So. So you can order the Powerwall right now on the Tesla website. Actually, go to teslaenergy.com and you can order the Powerwall right now. And we're going to start shipping in approximately 3 or 4 months. And initially, the ramp will be slow because these packs will be made in our Fremont factory. And then next year, the ramp will go much, much higher as we transition to the Gigafactory in Nevada. So this is a good solution for homes and perhaps for some small commercial applications. But what about something that scales to much larger levels? So for that, we have something else. So we have the Power Pack. So the Tesla Power Pack is designed to scale infinitely. So you literally make this into a gigawatt-hour class solution. you could go gigawatt class or higher. And in fact, we already have one utility that wants to do a 250 megawatt hour installation just using the Power Pack. I think it would be a good idea. This would be a good time to transition the power that we're using in the building to being battery powered, of course. So let's go to the camera feed to let's go check out the power meter. Oh wow, the grid, it's actually 0. This entire night has been powered by batteries. Not only that, the batteries were charged by the solar panels on the roof of this building. So this entire night, everything you're experiencing is stored sunlight. So when I say scalable, I really mean scalable. We can do gigawatt class installations with the Power Pack. The whole system is designed, literally designed for infinite scalability. So we could power a small city like Boulder with a gigawatt hour class pack, and we can keep going here. So what I want to do is explore what is needed, what's really needed to transition the world to sustainable energy. Is this actually possible? Is it something that is within the ability of humanity to actually do, or is it some insurmountable super difficult, impossible thing. It's not. So with 160 million power packs, you can transition the United States. Okay? With 900 million, you can transition the world. You can basically make all electricity generation in the world renewable. So, and primarily solar, which will be, so, and then going a little further, if you wanted to transition all transport and all electricity generation and all heating to renewable, you need approximately 2 billion power packs. So the point I want to make is that this is actually within the power of humanity to do. We have done things like this before. And so it's not impossible. It is really something that we can do. In fact, it's something that obviously we're starting to do with Gigafactory 1. Yeah. So the way we're approaching the Gigafactory is really like it's a product. So we're not really thinking of it in the traditional way that people think of as a factory, like a building with a bunch of sort of off-the-shelf equipment in it. What we're really designing in the Gigafactory is a giant machine. It's really, think of like, it's like a product of Tesla. We're making this really big product that doesn't happen to move, but it's really big. And that's what we're doing, is Gigafactory version 1. And we're building that in Nevada right now. And there will need to be many gigafactories in the future. And with I do want to emphasize that this is not something that we think Tesla's going to do alone. We think there's going to need to be many other companies building sort of gigafactory class operations of their own, and we hope they do. And the Tesla policy of open sourcing the patents will continue for the Gigafactory and for the Power Pack and for all these other things. So we want to show people, most importantly, that this is possible. That if you look at that's the future we could have, where the curve slowly rolls over and goes to zero, no incremental CO2. That's the future we need to have, and that's something that and the path that I've talked about, the solar panels and the batteries, it's the only path that I know that can do this. And I think it's something that we must do, and we can do, and that we will do.
So that's making it so the technology is becoming a lot more applicable in more scenarios, I guess you could say. And then there's the efficiency is really important, because there was a time whenever, solar panels have been around since like the 80s, right? They've been around for a long time. And even at one point, the White House had solar panels that Ronald Reagan actually got rid of, but they did have solar panels. And the solar panels at that time were not really that efficient. They could power a few things, but they weren't really, the majority of the energy that was actually being captured they couldn't utilize a large portion of it. And now, over time, the efficiency improving, what it means is that with the same amount of direct sunlight, you can actually you can do a lot more with that energy. You need a lot less of it to do a lot more. So that's important. And then on top of that, what's happening is a lot of these companies are using financing methods to make it so that the shift is happening a lot faster with consumers. Because one of the big issues in the past has been that you have to pay huge upfront costs to install and buy the solar panels and install them. And now there's all sorts of leasing programs where you can pay, monthly, or you don't have to pay upfront for the solar panels to be installed. You just pay a monthly rate for the next, whatever portion of time.
We have here in Nevada a lot of sun.
Nevada has 335 days of clear, bright sunshine.
There should be solar rooftop systems on every house and every building in this state.
We're getting to use the biggest nuclear reactor in the universe, the sun, which is right in my eyes right now.
Nevada has some of the best conditions for rooftop solar in the country.
The cost of this particular system is $37,000 installed.
$21,500.
16,000.
$48,000. I had to refinance my house to pay for this. I'm not a rich guy that was like can just write a check for 48 grand. But the long-term plan was it would pay for itself in 8 years.
In the late 90s, Nevada's government set up a policy called net metering. Net metering meant that homeowners who installed solar arrays could put surplus power back into the grid.
If I put energy on the grid, it's used by Larry, it's used by Jason, and it's used by Ken. It doesn't leave this cul-de-sac. Now, when I need energy back, later in the day when the sun goes down, I expected to get back a kilowatt for every kilowatt I donated for peak power.
Which, in other words, meant they got cheaper electric bills.
My power bills were $330 a month, and they went down drastically to $10.15 a month.
Oh, everybody was so happy. We helped the environment and we saved money at the same time.
Solar's future was so sunny that in 2014, Solar City, America's largest manufacturer and leaser of solar panels, was welcomed into Nevada. They removed the upfront cost of going solar and started leasing panels to homeowners with zero down.
I jumped at the chance immediately, and so did a lot of other people.
So pretty soon, 17,000 homeowners were generating power.
By coming in and basically flooding the market with no upfront cost lease systems, they basically woke up the sleeping dragon.
I used some retirement money to reduce my electric bill permanently, I thought.
In late December, Nevada's Public Utilities Commission decided that solar customers were mooching. They weren't paying their fair share to maintain the grid, and Nevada Energy should charge them more.
If the current plan stands, I will pay more for electricity for the next 30 years than if I had not put this system on my house.
You know, they might as well just rip it out of here.
Solar City quickly decided that doing business in Nevada no longer made sense. But this isn't just a sideshow in the desert. It's a proxy war. You see, Nevada Energy is part of Warren Buffett's business empire. And Elon Musk is behind Solar City. And it looked like Buffett's company had just secured a victory.
We want solar! We want solar!
Hundreds of solar homeowners came out to protest the rate changes by the Public Utilities Commission.
It doesn't make any sense. Nevada's bait and switch tactics, bringing the solar companies in, oh, we love you, and then kicking them out so that Warren Buffett can buy an extra airplane.
And some unusual collaborators, like actor Mark Ruffalo and a Tea Party founder, turned out to protest.
The Public Utility Commission is the anti-Robin Hood. Solar equals freedom! Solar equals freedom! Solar equals freedom!
I think there's definitely a much larger issue here than my house. I think it's larger than Nevada. I think if the power company owned by Berkshire Hathaway, essentially controlled by Warren Buffett, can keep their monopoly here, can destroy rooftop solar here, that this is the example or the precedent that they will take to other states across the country and they will try to kill the competition, because what you see there is competition for the monopoly power company.
If this PUC ruling will stand, it has effectively killed all new rooftop solar installation in Nevada.
The thousands of people caught in the crosshairs of these billionaires are realizing that by trying to do the right thing, they might have made the wrong decision.
I don't understand it, man. The people spend so much money to build all these, and then one day they come and they change the roof for no reason at all.
That's the biggest issue right now. That is the biggest issue right now. Because you bought something on the premise that you were going to save money.
This place here, 340 days a year.
1000% agree with you. I was born and raised here. Trust me, I know. It just doesn't make any sense.
Warren Buffett, huh?
That was pretty good.
But the environment has been left completely out of the equation. And it is the environment that gains with all these rooftop solars.
Since the rally, Nevada Energy has suggested grandfathering in existing contracts. But the rate changes are still in place, making it unfavorable for rooftop solar. It's not clear which billionaire will triumph. But what happens in Nevada may just set the course for the rest of the country.
I do believe that this shift is going to happen at a much larger scale. You know, I think that there's going to be a lot of really a dynamic shift in the way that energy is consumed, and really there's going to be a lot more solar energy consumption in the world. But that doesn't mean that it's an investable idea. You know, that doesn't necessarily mean that these companies are going to make a lot of money in the process of having this shift happen. You know, so my opinion is that the margins are getting slimmer and slimmer and slimmer to the point that it's going to be harder to actually make money off of this. And then you don't have the same way to make money that you will in a traditional energy source, where it's like continual consumption. After that upfront sale of that you know, solar panel or the actual Powerwall, where do you make money from there? And that's the difficult part. So just because the shift is happening doesn't mean that it's investable. Just my opinion. You know, let me know if you guys have a sort of difference in your opinion. I think that that's what this group is valuable for. So anyways, guys, yeah, let's hear your opinions.